Oh well, the early bird catches the worm. I thought I did not look at the time properly. See, this is why you need the glasses. I thought it was approaching 3 o'clock, and I turned the live on. But there is one person that will benefit from what I'm doing here. I'll give you like a minute, if you can, and call for me David Hines. Call David Hines for me and tell him that Dr. Prasad has a message for him. A matter of fact, not a message, I have a demonstration for him. I'll give you like a minute to get to him and let him tune in to the program, and because this is important for David Hines. Very important. Okay, so I'll give you a minute to do that. All right. Okay, David Hines, if you are watching, this is called a cheesecloth for your brill. I mean, your glasses, your spectacles. Okay? But in your case, your binoculars. Okay, your binoculars. In your case, you have a binoculars. That is not glasses. That is the stuff you use to. Let me borrow, because I watched the critic, the Guyanese critic broadcast one of these days. I think it was night or day. I just tuned into it, and so I want to borrow something he said when performing a diagnostic on Azridin Mohammed. I think he asked his secretary, the critic asked his secretary to get him a binoculars, a microscope. Was it a microscope? Yeah. So he can actually examine the penis of Azridin Mohammed, because he wanted to, the naked eyes cannot really get a hold of how much centimeter it is. I think it was funny, but I think he was on par. So in that case, David Hines, you would need a microscope, you know, or I think a binoculars would suit you, because you need to use both your eyes. And you can get this, because your glasses is a binocular. So you can get this, and you can kind of clean the lens, because all the time you wear that thing, it looks as though you are in front of a freezer. And the smoke that is creating this reaction to your lens, like it's so cold that you're blowing smoke is catching, the lens is catching it, so you can't see properly. But this is a demonstration, David Hines. I know that you're ancient. Yeah, David Hines, I know that you are in the age of the dinosaurs. You're gifted with long life. I could give you that, because you were there. I think you helped to babysit Barnum. Maybe that's why Barnum was so murderous and so terrible, because you were his uncle. People like you schooled Barnum, and you brought all the demon in the man, but you were still alive to terrorize the black people. So in your time, you know, they didn't have, you know, spectacles. You had to use what the old presidents of America, George Washington and these guys, you know, the binoculars thing. So, but this can still help. You clean the lenses. Sometimes you can even do, you know, get an extra shine. Extra shine. David Hines, yeah. And then you put it on, voila. You can make out letters properly. Go to one of the Indian-owned opticians. You know, the opticians are the people who deal with your eyes and things like that. You are racist. I understand. You are a racist. You hate Indian people. But you have to go to an Indian, take away the racism, hide it, pretend that you like Indians. Go to the store, I mean the clinic, and an Indian man will help you. Because black people are not in that business. Sad for you. Black people are in no business. Sad for you. So the same people that you're cussing, the same people that you're trying to direct violence and racism to, they're the ones you have to go for help because they have all the skills. Every field of profession and technology and medicine, the Indians dominate. You don't have a choice. Put your pride aside, put your racism aside, David Hines, and go to one of the opticians. You're in the parliament now, you need to read. Mahi Paul will not always be next to you to shine the light so you can see the words or whisper in your ear what is actually written there. He wouldn't always be there. You don't want to embarrass yourself. Then those Negroes will deport you to Africa, the motherland. You can go there and practice your culture amongst the Swahilis. I don't think that the Ashantis will want you. You're too ugly for that, Hines. The Ashantis wouldn't want you there. You need to go to places like the Congo, not even Kenya. You find yourself in the parliament. You are the one rotten apple. You are the one rotten apple, David Hines, that spoils the whole bunch. You are the one rotten egg that make all the other eggs smell stink. Yes, David Hines, you should never have been there. That sellout Aubrey Norton, put you there. What kind of a party do you have? What the fuck is WPA? Worst People Alliance? Yeah, well, that suits. You are a disgrace to Walter Rodney. Imagine if Walter Rodney was here. Barnum killed Walter Rodney. The PNC murdered or assassinated. Let's step it up. The PNC assassinated Walter Rodney because he would have replaced Barnum and brought the Africans out of their quagmire of filth that Barnum had them. But Barnum wanted to keep the Africans dumb, stupid, and enslaved. So the one liberator that could have freed all Africans in Guyana, they murdered him. The party of Walter Rodney, Working People's Alliance, the WPA. If Rodney, he must be in heaven saying, send me back, God, send me back, God, send me back as I were, so I can slap this nigger and say, hey, get the fuck out of the WPA. You are joining the PNC, the party that murdered your founder, the party that assassinated the only hope the blacks in Guyana ever had. You have joined, and it's not like you just born. You were alive, Hines. You were alive when they murdered Walter Rodney. You were alive. And you disgraced that man's legacy. Shame the fuck on you. You disgraced that man's legacy to join the PNC, the party that killed your dreams and your leader. Disgraceful. I warned you about them niggas. I warned you about them niggas. You're born a nigger. You raised as a nigger. You'll die a Negro. David Hines was always a nigger, always a nigger, always. The fact that he has some speciality in African studies tells you all you need to know. How the how, what kind of a subject is that? African studies. What the fuck you need to study about Africa? Slavery? What kind of culture? Tell me, what did the Africans bring to Guyana that is worth studying? That you need to have a PhD course. I mean, that you can have a PhD course on African studies in Guyana. What the fuck did they do? What contribution? What historical memory besides the Bornham massacre, the destructions, the burnings? Despite that, besides that, what else? What else is there to study to get a doctorate in African studies to call yourself fucking Dr. David Hines? What? You should have done theology like me. That's recognizable. Philosophy is recognizable. The world was founded on philosophy. I have a PhD in philosophy. You should have done that. It's more recognizable. Fucking African studies. That's why you're so racist. That's why you're so racist. You studied how to hate other people, blaming other people for the problems of the African. Guyana doesn't have white people. The white people in Guyana are tourists. Europeans are not white. They don't identify like that. But the real white people that you want to call the ones that are, like to discriminate, Guyana, they're tourists. So who are you hating on, Hines? Who? Chinese? The Indians? The Amerindians? Your racism doesn't belong in Guyana. Your racism belongs in South Africa. Yes, South Africa. You can feel at home there because them niggas there are racial against everyone. They're murdering the Indians there. Oh, you see, you didn't know this. Your African studies didn't tell you that. That them blacks in South Africa are murdering Indians. Yes, whatever name you want to call them, Indo-Guyanese, but Indo-Africans. The largest population of East Indians out of India is in South Africa. And they're being murdered by them niggas there. Out of jealousy. Same shit. Oh, same shit. Same thing. Jealousy. The Indians in South Africa are the richest group in South Africa. And because of their natural ability to progress, to develop, because of their natural gift for business, technology, governance, they are being targeted by them lazy niggas in South Africa who don't want to work. Same like Guyana. All they do is fucking dance. Yeah. Oh, fine. We know you can dance. Yes, Negroes can dance. We know that. You can run fast. You can fight. You can dance, and you can kill. Yeah, the warrior, right? The warrior. Yeah. The whole world knows that. But that's all you do. So when the other group is showing their God-given ability, they can't run fast. Yeah, Indians out of India can't dance. We know that. But all Indians are progressive, hardworking, very smart, and don't stop until they achieve the greatest. All Indians. Some can't sing. I mean, the ones in India, they're genius. But out of India, Indians can't sing. They can't dance, they can't sing. We all know that. And they hate fighting. And they can't run fast. We all know that. But who gives a shit? I can't sing. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I can't sing. If my singing had to decide whether I get sex, I would have been still a virgin. No woman will fall for this voice when it comes to singing. I can't run. No, I am too strong. I run like I'm like Tyson. But I can run marathon. I can't run fast, but I can run far. Indian people can't run fast, but boy, they can run the distance. You organize a marathon, 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers, and they would be there waiting for you to finish. I never fought in my life because I know my strength. And I'm afraid, always afraid, that if I hit somebody, they'll die. And if they die, what's the next option? Jail. I hate that. The idea, Indian people hate jail. They hate prison. They hate the legal system. They hate it. They're fearful of that. That's why most of them sit around, brother. Let's just be peaceful. It's okay. It's okay. They don't want to fight. They don't want any confrontation because they hate the idea of having to go to jail, because going to jail means your whole life is fucked up. You can't build, you can't earn, you can't progress, you can't fulfill your dream, you can't build your mansion, you can't save your money. None of that you can do. And that's at the top of the typical Indian man's agenda. That's why they always, you know what? Bye-bye. I'll get you next time. I'm going to build a company. And when I'm hiring people, you better don't apply. You better don't apply. That's the strategy they use. But then you hear, oh, they're racial. They discriminate against black people. They don't want to hire black people to work. I don't want to hire black people to work. You know how much they cost me? You know how much they cost me in business in my lifetime? I don't. What, I'm racial? I'm being practical. So if an Indian man is only it seems like he's only hiring Indian people because he understands the culture of his own kind. The culture of working, hard working, no complaint. They would work around the clock with no excuse, like the Chinese. That's why they get jobs faster. That's why the bank is always quick to lend money to Indians and Chinese. Why? Because the bank understands the psychology of the races. They have people, specialists there to advise them. The Indian man and the Chinese man would not sleep. He would not sleep until he pays off that loan. He would wear one pair of slippers until he pays off that loan. And the banking system knows that. So they can gamble with an Indian, gamble with a Chinese, but never with a Negro. The whole world knows you don't lend money to Negroes because they get the money in their hands, they forget you. And you call them 2 times to have them repay you. The third time they're going to send the bandit after you to rob you, and then take the money that they robbed you to pay you back with that. It's a risk. Lending money to black people is a high risk investment for banks. That's why they don't do it. Or if they should do it, you have to come with an asset that is 10 times what you want to borrow. And the world cries, oh, the banking system is rigged against the black man. No, the black man's culture is rigged against the black man. Everybody else just have to be smart and educated as to how the black people operate. And you see, David Hines, I didn't have to study African studies to know that. I don't have a doctorate in African studies, but I said what I said, all of what I just said, without having to go to any university for any dumb course to tell me about black people. I'm seeing it every fucking day. I'm seeing it. That's how I know. So you got some attention. No, I'm pissed. I'm angry. Because Norton, stupid ass Norton, that loser Norton who sold the black people, he sold them to Ashruddin Muhammad. That loser is the one responsible for racist David Hines in the parliament. He's the one. Look at what the PNC brought to the parliament. Look at what the PNC brought. Gays, lesbians, racists, terrorists. Look at what they brought to that house. So I'm angry. I have a right to be angry. That's why I'm angry. But it's done because of what Norton did. We have Ashruddin. We have David Hines. Forget the rest. They're not important. But those two, the racist and the criminal, because of Norton, you can buy these niggas so easy, so easy. I should have been your opposition leader. I should have been the head of the PNC. I would change the name. But you need somebody like me that can't be bought. Look what Norton did. And he has no pride. He has no fucking pride. Break his own party because the money is better. Now he's a millionaire. Norton, Aubrey Norton, a millionaire. Billions he has. You think he has time with politics? He's rich for the rest of his life. And his grandkids and his side chick. Do you have a relationship with Coretta McDonald, Aubrey Norton? Aubrey Norton, it's a question. It's a question. I just ask questions here. I'm not saying conclusively. I'm not accusing you. It's a question. Do you have a relationship with Coretta McDonald? I mean, both of you are ugly alike. I can understand. I can see that. I can see the attraction. I can see the attraction. But I just want to make it official. Is there a relationship between Aubrey Norton and Coretta McDonald? Yes or no? It's as simple as that. I'll take it as a yes. Case closed. Now, something has been bothering me for a while. It's not just today. Not just today. Since I'm a kid, a boy, I ask myself the question, why is it that Spanish is a compulsory subject in schools throughout Guyana? Some depends on the level of the school, you get more subject, but as a common level, standard for all public schools, all schools, Spanish is a must subject that you have to pursue from secondary throughout. Why? I always ask myself why. I mean, I've always heard of issues with Venezuela and Guyana. Always heard. You know very well that Venezuela wanted to annex Guyana before Chetty was born. They always wanted to capitalize on that. Then wouldn't it be better to stay far away from the language of Venezuela as possible? Why do we have Spanish a part of the curriculum? You're educating the children of Guyana to be fluent in Spanish for what? At some point, Spanish will become the universal language of Guyana, not English. I mean, the Spaniards never had Guyana. They never colonized Guyana. The two countries that colonized Guyana is the Dutch and the British. You would think, naturally, instead of Spanish, you'll be teaching Dutch, Netherlands, in the schools. After all, the Dutch had Guyana first. So the Dutch language should have been a priority language in schools. Guyanese should have been able to speak two basic languages, Dutch and English. there is such a close relationship with Guyana and Suriname. In Suriname, everybody speaks English, but in Guyana, nobody speaks Dutch. But most people in Guyana speak Spanish. The irony. And to know that the largest Spanish-speaking country in the hemisphere wants to annex Guyana, wants to control Essequibo, wants to bomb Guyana into oblivion, but you are pushing their language in your school. You want to orient the Guyanese on Spanish culture. Why? You have in France, where English is not taught in the schools. It's not. They hate the English to the point that you can't even speak English around them. That's how much they hate the English, the French. Because of the issues they had with the two countries, the two kingdoms. They hate each other to this day. And you have Guyana that continued to face problems with Venezuela from the beginning. But yet you're going to put Spanish a part of your curriculum to this day. Maduro just wanted to bomb Guyana. You just had a terrorism in Guyana. 4 of the terrorists were Venezuelan. 4. The mastermind and 3 others. The recent terrorism. Before that, the one with the police station and the government infrastructure, the GPL infrastructure. Venezuelans, Spanish speaking people. And yet you're pushing Spanish in the schools. How is that going to help the development of Guyana? The only way you're pushing a specific language type in your community or amongst your people is if you are about to be colonized by the language bearer. In this case, is not Spain, but Venezuela. So the citizens need to orient themselves as to how to speak Spanish, write Spanish, read Spanish, because eventually, when Venezuela colonized Guyana, all the signs would be in Spanish, all the main correspondence would be in Spanish. That's the only way you push your citizens, say, hey, get familiar with Spanish, because the French are going to. I mean, the Spaniards. I would support 2 languages in Guyana. The language of the Indians, the language of the Chinese. Mandarin and Hindi. Because what the fuck is African language? I mean, they got like 10,000 dialects. Which one would you choose? You can't say you're teaching African language. Which one? There is no universal African language that you can teach. They're all dialects. But you have Hindi and Mandarin. Those 2 languages you can teach in the schools. Sanskrit is very complicated, but Hindi, you can introduce that into the curriculum. Hindi and Mandarin. Fucking Spanish. What development in Guyana the Spaniards are doing? The only thing the people that speak Spanish are doing in Guyana is stealing your wealth from the interior, having illegal gold mining operation, the terrorists in the interior, they're stealing your gold, they're stealing your wood, stealing your resources. That's what they're doing. Now they're bombing your cities, and you're still pushing it. As president, I'm going to exclude Spanish from the curriculum, and I'm going to include Mandarin and Hindi. Mandarin and Hindi, I'm going to include in the curriculum. I'll get rid of Spanish. It's better to teach Portuguese. Portuguese. A lot of European countries speak that. But fucking Spanish. Teach French. You have so many options. Get rid of Spanish. Get rid of Spanish. Teach Hindi. Teach Mandarin. You can teach French. Give the people a variety. But since the man who claims to be president is such a friend to the largest Spanish-speaking country in Latin America and the most corrupt criminal enterprise in Latin America, the Maduro enterprise, he is claiming in Guyana that he is the president. Let me tell you why I chose to come with that issue today. You see, I'm well known. So people run into me, they're like, a lot of people run into me from time to time. And today, a lot of people ran into me. I've been to a few places, and do you know what the people out of Guyana are saying? Let's deal with Suriname. They're saying that Irfaan Ali, first of all, they asked me, one of them asked me today, hey, Doc, I mean, I like your style, you know, I watch your shows, you have my respect, but how can you support a man like President Ali? How can you support, I mean, I said, why not? He's like, man, look at what they're doing to that guy, that Mohammed guy. I mean, look at what they're doing. They stole the elections from that guy. They robbed that guy the elections. That guy won the elections. Why they can't let the man be president? The people want him. I said, where did you get that information from? I said, where did you get that information from? If you're saying you like me, you know me, you watch my shows. I said, you're telling me that apart from what I'm saying, there are many other people that have access to the viewership of Suriname that is pushing that narrative, that Azzuddin Mohammed is the true elected president of Guyana? That's what you're telling me? One guy wanted to argue his head off. All kinds of facts he has. I said, where the fuck you got that from? Some poll, some sheet, some GCOM this. It's Surinamese. And he ain't got Guyanese roots. This was a Javans, or let's say Chinese, a Chinese Surinamese, trying to convince me that I need to change my rhetoric and back Mohammed because he is the true president. Today, I was confronted with that. These guys are really investing because, folks, listen. We know President Ali is the president. We know that. Case closed. But it's not about that. It's perception. The people that these win people are reaching is extraordinary. I am appalled. I'm like, wow. They are capitalizing. It seems like the win camp, has a lot of Suriname influencers on their paycheck, that they're paying to push a certain narrative in the Suriname community in favor of Azzuddin Mohammed. So a lot of the Guyanese who don't understand Dutch or speak Dutch, you wouldn't bother with that because you don't understand what they're saying. But the average Surinamese in Suriname believes that Azzuddin Mohammed has been elected president and he was robbed. They believe it. They have animosity towards President Irfaan Ali. Animosity. And they believe that to their core. It is the social media influencers in Suriname that are being paid by Azzuddin Mohammed's camp to push that narrative in the community here. Because in no way so many people here would buy into that narrative that Azzuddin Mohammed is the true president. In no way. It has to be that the influences from the locals here, they're connected. The man has his agents everywhere. Imagine in another country. Imagine out of Guyana, other countries. They're reaching these people and they're pushing this narrative. They're building up support. They're building up support internationally. So if there is a political coup, if there is a conspiracy to dethrone by way of violence President Irfaan Ali and install Azrin Mohammed, the world, the majority of the people of the world, the poor people, they're going to stand with the idea to say, well, it's good for Ali because they robbed this guy, they want to jail this guy, they want to send him to the Americans. You know the sentiments against America, right? You all know that. You all know that. The only people who understands the role the Americans are playing are the smart people. But the actual poor people hate America. So anybody that seemed to have the American support, that person would be hated too. So the fact that the Mohammed's camp are pushing this propaganda that the Americans wanted to do them stuff and the Americans this, and the Americans have helped the Ali government to get rid of him. The hatred is not just towards Ali, it's towards the Americans and its favor with Azrin Mohammed. That is what is happening. And it is terrible, it is bad because you are exposed, you are vulnerable. People are looking at me with scorn because they believe this nonsense. They're angry at me. No, you can't. How can you support the guy? Look, all of this evidence. I said, where do you get that from? That I'm a spy and Ali is spending millions on me. That's why I am lying for Ali. I'm doing this for Ali. I said, what fucking millions? Are you out your mind? I am on my show most of the times begging poor people. Well, I'm done with begging rich people because you beg rich people, it's useless. It's fucking useless. But I'm on my show begging, putting my pride aside, my ego, and begging poor people to send donations to me. And therein they have the people in the diaspora, not Guyanese, but you have the local Surinamese. Some Africans from Nigeria also approach me that thinks that Ali is funding me. I have never received a cent, not a cent, from the People's Progressive Party or President Ali. Never, not a cent, not an itsy-bitsy cent. How many times have I said that? But they still think I'm lying. They still think I'm lying. They still think it's a joke. That I should, Doc, you should support Azrin, please, because the man is for the people and he wants to help the people. You should. I said, so this is what I concluded. They are prepping up the diaspora for something. And Azrin is not that smart to know how to market this. He's not that clever. He is trying to build support out of Guyana against the Ali government and the Americans. And it seemed to be working. It seemed to be working. You know what it's like? I go to places and people are looking at me funny. Dutch people are looking at me funny as though I'm the enemy. They're approaching me as though I'm the enemy because of the sources of their information. They don't have access to the other side, but the side that they're getting their information from is in favor of Azrin Mohammed and the people of Win. He is the persecuted one. He is the sacrificial lamb. I'm like, this criminal. People actually think he's a fucking saint. The Ali government, listen, President Ali, we know you are the president. Like I said before, you swore in, yeah, we get that. But it's the PR that matters, public relation. That matters. You don't want to be a president where only the PPP support what you're doing. You need to be a president where everybody understood that you won the election fairly and debunk all of these negative propaganda. You need to do that. Don't, not because you win. Don't turn your back. You have 5 years. And this is the problem with most politicians. They do all kinds of stuff before the elections. After the elections, they stick to the script. Ignore all the other things. And before they know it, problems. Now they're running helter-skelter, running there, running here, running there, running there, trying to get help on this one. No. You got to be alert, because the WIN people, the PNC, they are alert. They are using their resources to keep the narrative, the talking point, consistent and continuous. They're using it, and it's working. The fact that people here thinks that you robbed Ajudin, it's dangerous. And I'm not talking the middle class, because like Guyana, Suriname, and other countries, the middle class and the upper class are a very small group. They don't count. The perception that counts is the perception that is popular amongst the lower class, the working class. That perception, you need to make sure it stays there. Because if Ajudin uses his resources, his money, and whatever influence he has to get a hold on the lower class and the working class, you control the information, you control the direction. If they are successful in controlling social media, propagandists, pundits, influencers in different countries, if they're successful with doing that, nothing else matters. Because the people on the ground, the young people, the locals, they have friends in every country connected via social media. People from Suriname, young people from Suriname, are friends with young people in Guyana, in Jamaica, in other countries. They talk to each other, they sympathize with each other. So if the propagandist camp of the WIN and the PNC continue to funnel and use their resources to keep the narrative that elections was rigged, Ajudin Mohammed was wrongfully thing, and it spreads, there is no way you can penetrate that after that. No way you can penetrate that. If he stays out of prison, even if he goes to prison, the hold and the influence that they already have on the average young people who don't think, and they call them to come out and fight, they will come out and fight. Because they are convinced in their hearts that the system was wrong against Ajudin Mohammed. So they are emotionally attached to this man. The idea that they are doing something good, fighting for the Mohammeds, is what drives them. That is what you need to break. Otherwise, those young black people, they don't care if they have to die, they will die, because they believe and they're convinced that the Americans and the government is against this guy. And he would use that. The same way the blacks in America, the politicians use the sentiments and use emotions to get the blacks there to do what they do. The same playbook. That's what I'm saying. Azrin Muhammad is not that smart to know that strategy. He's being helped. They are being helped. I am concerned. Because when young people fix in their mind that this is what it is, and you have other young people from different countries that are telling them, hey, this is what it is, they joined in band. That's why the Black Lives Matter thing spread around the world. That's why it spread around the world. That's why the George Floyd issue spread around the world. That's why every time there's a situation in America involving black people, it spreads because of social media connection and the people who are funding social media influencers to keep it alive. You guys are taking a lot for granted. I'm talking about the PPP. You got to play the game dirty. You have to play the game dirty. Stop being greedy. You were so generous before elections. So generous. You know, I'm beginning to think that I should have sent you my invoice before elections. You say, hey, I need 50 million. I'll get it fast before elections. No, I can't invoice you. You don't give a shit. You don't care. You got 5 years. But the Mohammeds, the PNC, and their sponsors, they are continuing to pay, to fund, and to provide whatever they can to the people that are keeping the narrative alive for them. It's important. Information is necessary. You watch to the Americans, look at what they're doing. Congratulations to Mandami, the mayor, the Indian mayor. Congratulations to him. I like the guy. I like the guy. But if it wasn't for social media, if it wasn't for the influencers that were in favor of Mandami, if it wasn't for the hard work they did in keeping those people on target, in no way he could have beaten a white man. In no way. The power of social media. The PPP got 6 seats extra. Over 50,000 votes more. How? Some miracle? No. The power of social media. Azrin Muhammad dethroned the PNC. Kicked them out. How? The power of social media. And he understood that. So he liked the power, he wants to keep the power. So he continues to fund the pundits that kept him alive. Now you look at any platform on social media. Who is the most popular person out of Guyana right now? Politician. Who is? Azrin Muhammad. Not even the president. The young people are running after Azrin Muhammad everywhere. Not even the president. Why? Money. They're getting to influencers who has a large following of young people, and they're paying those influencers big money. Big money, ain't no 1,000, 2,000. I'm talking thousands, 50, 60, 100,000. They're paying them, and it is working. All over you go, it's Azrin Muhammad. Any site, Azrin Muhammad. You would think society has better standards than to idolize a sanctioned man, a criminal, a man who could possibly spend the rest of his life in prison and die in prison. You would think society has better standards than to idolize people like that, but they are. They are. Why? Not because they love him, but because the people who are pushing it, they're the ones that their followers trust. It's like me. If I say something, my followers believe it. They trust it. So because I like President Ali, my followers like President Ali. You get it? So that's the point I'm making here. Guyana needs to stay secure. Every life is important, including that 15-year-old boy, that rookie cop, that junkie alcoholic rookie cop murdered in cold blood. From the time someone puts their foot, there was no lights there at that pedestrian crossing. There was no lights that the kid could have pressed the button and then the red sign comes on to tell the cars to stop. Pedestrians are crossing. There is nothing like that there. That boy would have anticipated that the drivers, who are human beings and have used the roads themselves, understood a kid is crossing. A child is about to cross the road. She was at a distance, hundreds of meters away. It wasn't the nighttime or daytime, morning time. You can't miss. That kid was not a dwarf, not a midget. You could see. You can see the pedestrian crossing, and you could see the child, because there was some person who crossed before, and he was about to. You could see that. You really have to be evil. You have to be evil. You have to be really, really bad. You have to be a terrible person to see a human being put, especially a cop. A cop's supposed to know all the rules. A cop's supposed to know that from the time someone puts their foot on a pedestrian crossing, they have all the rights. You as a motorist, no matter how late you are, unless you are an ambulance or a police car in chase, every other motorist, from the time a person puts their foot on the pedestrian crossing, that's the indication you need to stop as a motorist. Stop. Let the person cross. Because they're walking. They put their foot on to walk, not to gauge you and play like they're putting their head and they're walking. He put his foot on the road and he was crossing because the cars were at a distance. They had enough time to slow down. But that bitch thinks she could beat the kid before he actually get to the middle. Don't wonder she started to race, put more gas, saw the kid, then step on the gas. Oh, I can beat him to it. Typical women, typical women. It takes a lot for them to stop. And the direction he's going in, that's the direction she is going in. Premeditated murder by accident. And you put her on bail. You put her on bail. That's why I said the PNC controls the judicial system. Because a black woman, an Indian guy, an Indian boy. Imagine if it was the other way around. Think about it for a moment. If it was an Indian cop, a woman who was drunk, and she killed a black boy. Oh my gosh. God had to help the Indians in Guyana. Oh my gosh. The chaos those Negroes will rain down on the Indians. The chaos. God had to step in and say, But a black police officer, female police officer, under the influence of alcohol, murdered an Indo-Guyanese 15-year-old, and she got the best treatment. Didn't even go back to help the kid. She got the best treatment, 500,000 Guyana dollars bail. Some pimp can help her pay that. Well, they paid 30. And has to report to the station. Oh, what the fuck, man? This is why I said, Alan Nandala, you should be fired. You should be fired. There we go again. The state against a murderer. The state prosecutors prosecuting this cop for the crimes of killing a child on the pedestrian crossing. The prosecutors comes under you, Anil Nandala. There we go again. You fucked up with Azharuddin Mohammed, and you fucked up again with the prosecutor. You see why the PPP continues to lose Indian votes? You see why they keep losing Indian votes? Because of things like that. You're not helping your people. You're not saving your people. There is no way that woman should be put on bail. No way. Azharuddin should still be in jail with his father, and that cop who murdered that kid should still be in jail. Life in prison. That's what I said the other day, right? I said the other day. You murder people on the roadways because you're stupid ass driving while drunk, you should be life in prison. That's what I said. That is favoritism. Favoritism. And it's a rookie cop. Rookie cop. It's not somebody of significance in the police force. She just got there, and already breaking the rules, driving under the influence. Just got there. The system has failed. The system has failed. And President Ali, your base is crying out to you. They are already disappointed that the government failed to do what they had to do regarding the Bahamas. They continue to be disappointed because the government is not looking out for the best interests of the Indo-Guyanese. You should. You should, because the PNC in 2015, 2020, they were looking out for the best interests of Afro-Guyanese. They were, and you know that. Now you want to, now it's like, no, we are a government of everybody. Yes, you are, but come on, man. The Afro-Guyanese got from the PNC. The Indians didn't get. Now you come. The Afro-Guyanese get from the PPP, and the Indians don't get. Come on, somebody got to be given to the Indians, man. You want me to go give them? Oh, trust me, I would gladly do it. I would gladly do it. But if I enter the race, it's a loss of votes for the PPP because the Indians are going to come by me. And that means less votes for the PPP. Is that what you want? So fix it. That cop should not have been sent on bail. You swear in Azharuddin Mohammed the disgrace to Guyana. You have other people from different countries are thinking that he is the president and not you, President Ali. They're making fun of how you dress because your government did not take the opportunity to block Azharuddin Mohammed from entering the race. You took everything for granted. Oh, let the process work. Let the process work. That's what you were doing with Maduro. That's what you were doing with Maduro. So while you were saying, let the process work, oh, we're waiting on the ICJ, Maduro was busy planning and voting and having elections for Essequibo. You always wait on the process while everybody else is going on with their plans. You and your process. Now the same thing. Let the process work. Well, the process worked. Azharuddin entered the race. Azharuddin contested elections. Azharuddin thinks he won the elections. Azharuddin was sworn in the parliament, and Azharuddin would be sworn in as the leader of the opposition, and then Azharuddin might very well take over the presidency because you want the system to fucking work. Well, it worked. And your base, those people who have supported, who bled and died and spent their millions behind the PPP. Their millions behind the PPP. Where is the justice for them? Those people who are accosted by the PNC in 2020, where are their justice? Those people that were affected with the Doubleday Hotel crisis there and the aftermath of that, where is their justice? They're all Indian people. You're trying to please them niggas. Well, keep trying. The world is seeing how the government betrayed that mother who lost her 15-year-old to a drunk, driving black female police rookie. The world saw that. Sentiments were harbored. I always say, 5 years will be up soon. People ain't forgetting. I'm going to keep reminding them. Yeah, because I was made a fool myself. So while I'm not abandoning the PPP, I'm not doing that. I'm a PPP. I'll stay a PPP. But the bullshit of the government, I will not turn a blind eye to that. Charity begins at home. Charity begins at home. Your charity as a PPP should begin with your base, the Indo-Guyanese, with your base. I make no apologies to that. You see, David Hines, I can say it like it is. I make no apologies. Because I don't want what the WIN and the PNC people are planning, I don't want that to materialize. I don't want it to materialize. We need to get back control of the poor people of Guyana, give them the hope they need to understand that they too will have a bright future. But if they're keeping, if they WIN and the others are keeping them busy with this whole nonsense about political prosecution and Azudin is the true president and this and that, they're not seeing the possibilities that are offered to them via the government. All they're seeing is, oh, Ali wanted to jail Azudin. That's all they're seeing. And it's harboring emotions that you don't want, President Ali. You don't want those emotions to be directed at you. We have to break that. Now, to my kind followers, I want you to reach into your heart and listen to the Creator talking to you. In whatever way you acknowledge the Creator, listen to the Creator talking to you and telling you, hey, listen, you're not rich. You're not a millionaire. You can't afford like Azudin. But you can afford to reach out to Dr. Prasad and say, hey, you know what? I'm not rich, but I want to keep you on script. I want to keep you on target, and I want to bless you. I want to send you my donation. I want to bless you. I want you to understand that politicians are greedy. Politicians are opportunists. Politicians would only be nice to you before elections, but we would always be nice to you, Dr. Prasad, before elections, after election, for the rest of our lives, because we need you on script to keep Guyana safe, to hold the government accountable. We prefer you to hold the government accountable than for anybody else with a hidden agenda. I have no hidden agenda. I'm not going to join the PNC. I will never join WIN. I'll never join any other party. I'm a PPP. So it's better I criticize and correct than any of the others. You know I have good intentions. I want the best for my party and my people. So if you don't know how to do that, for those of you who understand how to do that, on my videos, there's a Zella account for those who live in the North America, the Zella account, or I'll put it later on some of the videos. Via that account, you can send your donations, or you can send me a WhatsApp on my number. Yeah, I always keep forgetting the number, but the number is on my video. It's on my thing there. Get that number. You send me a WhatsApp. say, hey, Doc, I want to support you. How can I do this? Give me your details so I can go and send you what I have. I would gladly do that because you, the people, matter. You depend on the inspiration, the stimulation to know that there is somebody this part of the world who wants the best for Guyana. I have no ulterior motives. The government gives me no contract, no funding, none whatsoever, nothing. But I can't be motivated by the need for that and go off script. So just because they're not supporting me, I should turn against them. No, I can't. There is too much at stake. I'll know when to deal with them, but there is too much at stake. I can't risk the safety and security of Guyana because I have issues with some politicians. I can't do that. But I know you, the people, will always stand behind me. Until next time, namaste.